All right, as you guys know, obviously today made a decision. I met with Greg this morning, and we agreed to part ways. And I'm naming Anthony Lynn as our offense coordinator. I'd like to say, first off, I appreciate Greg Roman. The job he did for us. I think he's always thought he was a tremendous coach, and I still believe that. But this is a decision that I think moving forward is going to help our team, and that's the reason why I made that decision. But with that, I'll open it up for questions.
Why did this come after what you did?
Well, I just, I recognize this isn't a ideal situation to make a change, but we do actually have a couple extra days, and if I thought it's better than doing it maybe on a Sunday game, but so that's kind of why we went with it. I went with the decision today.
Rex, why do you think moving forward this would be a better decision for the Bills?
Well, I just think that, with Anthony, I know the kind of coach Anthony is. I know the kind of person he is, and I think the direction that he can take us, I think we need to change. And, I think we have a lot of talent on offense. I believe that, and I believe we're going to do what we can to put the ball in our playmakers' hands, and I think Anthony will do that.
Do you think that Greg's, whether it's his system or his play calling, has not allowed Tyrod Taylor to develop into the quarterback you think he could be?
Well, first off, I think, as I've mentioned, I think Greg is an outstanding coach. There's no doubt, and to be honest, I'm going to answer questions that are about us moving forward. I'm not going to get into the past and all that. I'd rather look at the way Anthony is, and understanding that we have a coaching staff that's been together, and it'll be an inclusive staff. That obviously Anthony's going to be the guy making the call, but we have a terrific coaching staff, and we're going to lean on that expertise of these coaches as well, and that's why I think it's going to be very successful.
Was that not happening as much though under Greg? The inclusiveness to which you refer, was he more autonomous with his decisions?
I think any comment that I make about what happened in the past, I'd rather leave that behind me and just focus on really what's in front of us.
Can you just walk this? I know this is going to count as past, but can you walk through at least the process? Do you just decide yourself, and when did you come to a decision or realization you had to do this? Wake up this morning, last night after the game, and was there a consultation, conversation with ownership before you did it?
Yeah, after every single game, I meet with ownership. In this morning, I met with I met today, and then I informed ownership of my decision, and they were supportive of it. And that's when I let Greg. That's when I had the conversation with Greg.
Rex, at the beginning of training camp, you had a speech to your players that said if things didn't go right, you were going to be the first one to go. Now Greg's the first one to go. Do you worry that message might ring a little bit hollow?
Well, I think first off, I'm accountable for everything that goes on, and that's everything on the field, everything in here, offense, defense, special teams. I'm accountable. I'm also accountable for making these decisions, and that does fall on me. There's no doubt about it, and I accept that responsibility.
So, Coach, where's the primary focus line now for Coach Lynn in terms of righting the wrongs that you saw on offense?
I think first off, obviously, these extra couple of days he'll get together with his staff, and like verbiage-wise, it's not going to be a drastic change for our players based on the verbiage you have and everything else. that would probably be appropriately for, more appropriate if it was at the end of the season or you're beginning a season. So we'll carry some of the verbiage things, that we already have in place. But it's just how we do things. And I think that's it. We'll come up with a good plan. And, albeit, the first game out of the box, we're playing the Arizona Cardinals, who might have one of the top defenses in the league. Definitely has one of the top defenses in the league. So it's going to be a huge challenge, but we'll see how it goes.
There are a lot of
Getting the
fans.
ball in the playmaker's hands a few minutes ago, is that part of the process here, that you want to see him get them involved a higher percentage of plays here?
Well, absolutely. We want to get. We think, as I mentioned, I think we have a lot of weapons, and it's just how we disperse it, how we go about doing that. That's where the focus is going to be.
There are a lot of fans who will look at last night's performance by the defense compared to the offense and say, why is the offensive coordinator being fired? How do you respond to that?
Well, I understand. I understand, and certainly the defense has to improve. There is no doubt about that. But this is, I think, if it was appropriate to do something else, then I would have. But to me, I thought this was the move that I felt that we needed to make to help our team moving forward.
How long has this been a possibility in your mind?
I don't really want to get into that. I just this is where we're at today, and that's why I made that decision, and we're not looking back.
Rex, have you had concern over Tyrod's just development? Because in the last 2 weeks, it hasn't looked like a guy who was making big forward steps, especially after getting a contract extension and all the confidence that this team seemed to have in his growth and development.
Well, I think Tyrod is a outstanding player. I believe his ability as a drop back quarterback, as a quarterback that can that's athletic, that we can do things with. I think he's a rare talent, and we have to get him. We have to do things that I think will showcase those abilities a little bit, and maybe that he has some unique abilities, and I think we need to kind of focus on those strengths, but also try to develop what we perceive as a weakness. I think instead of talking about it, we need to develop some of those, give him an opportunity to get better, and I believe he will.
Was there any question about who you wanted to take over Roman's spot once you made that decision, or was Anthony just the guy automatically?
He's the guy automatically. Obviously, you've seen this is now going on. He's had head coaching interviews, had offensive coordinator jobs. He's turned down some. He's an outstanding coach, and the league understands it. I've been fortunate to have Anthony with me for, I think, 8 years now. I know the kind of coach he is. I know what we're getting, and I'm excited about it.
Rex, what makes him outstanding? He's a coach that probably not a lot of fans are familiar with.
People in the NFL are very familiar with him, but fans, I understand it because you're, technically a assistant head coach, running backs or something. But he can coach them all. He can coach the superstar player. He can coach the rookie, undrafted free agent. He commands respect. He's got the respect of the entire locker room, for that matter. And he's just he's a smart guy, X and O's guy. He's a former world champion as a player. He comes from great stock. Been under Bill Parcells. Been, through the list goes on and on. But this guy's an outstanding coach, and I think I'm excited to see him get this opportunity. I think he's going to do a great job.
Does the timing of a move like this in any way speak to just the urgency of you find yourself at 0-2 and that video that came out where you were addressing your players and talking about the heat being on more or less, does any of that play into doing what you did now, at this particular time?
Well, I think, the big thing is I thought it was the right time to make the move. I thought that this is the best thing for our team moving forward. We have 14 weeks left in the regular season, and obviously we got to make big strides, and not just on offense, but on defense as well. We all understand that, but I believe we will make improvements. I do. I believe I wouldn't have made this move if I didn't think that we would be better offensively and ultimately be better as a team.
So just to be clear, this was 100% your move. It didn't come down from ownership.
Yeah, this is my move without question.
Rex, what do you make of the idea? Basically, the national perception right now is that Greg was the scapegoat for your failures. What do you make of that?
Well, I understand, but that's not the case at all. I'm here to say, number one, that I've mentioned. I mean, Greg's a tremendous football coach, and I've got a ton of respect for him. So that is, I can tell you, that's not the case. If I didn't think this was a move that would help our football team, I wouldn't have made this move. With everything being said, I'm ready to put the ball in Anthony Lynn's, hands, and I believe he's ready for it. In my opinion, I know he's ready for it, and with the guys that are around him, I think it's going to be a great decision.
Do you worry at all what other coaches might think around the league in terms of, after you fire a guy after 2 weeks, maybe it's not as attractive to work for you in the future?
I don't look at that. I don't worry about it, if you will. I just know that it's got to be, we have to have results, and I'm responsible for that. I understand it.
Rex, do you want Anthony to do something completely different, or is it more about fine-tuning the major things you already are trying to do?
Well, I'm not going to say one way or the other if there is going to be a difference, but I think we'll I think we'll see, starting on Sunday, the maybe what it is, what's different or whatever. But I'm not going to get into specifics. Just to say that, as I mentioned, I think we have a lot of good players, and we're going to get the ball in their hands.
So have you been personally frustrated by the lack of plays that have gone Sammy's way? I mean, this is we're going back to your start of your career here. Have you been personally frustrated by the fact that he really has not been able to flourish the way maybe he could?
I think Sammy Watkins is a rare talent, and I've had to defend against him, and I know how difficult that was. I thought at the end of last year, we did a great job of getting him the football, and I expect that we're going to try to get him the football, more and more.
Did ownership, though, have any opinion about the way it was going, or does a meeting like that go where you just say, this is what I think is going to make the team better, and they just rubber stamp it? Because they're on the hook for a pretty decent-sized contract. I believe he was the highest-paid coordinator in the league. Did they express any concern of their own about this that you took into account?
Well, like I say, we discuss, after every game we get together and believe me, ownership, myself, nobody was happy with how we played yesterday. That's a given. But my thing, when I informed them that I wanted to make this move, they were behind me.
How much realistically can you change when you put in months and months of effort into one offensive system, and then midweek, change to something else? How much is reasonable to change at this point?
Well, I think obviously it's going to be very challenging. There's no question about it. But I think our players will be excited about Anthony running the show, and I know Anthony is. I'm excited for Anthony. How much we can improve, from jump. If it wasn't the Arizona Cardinals, maybe I'd say a little better than that. But I know the effort's going to be there, and I know I think our guys are really excited to rally behind Anthony.
In that meeting with ownership this morning, how much did you personally feel the heat from them in terms of your own job security?
That never came up. I'm here to do a job to the best of my ability, and and I'm accountable for everything. And I'm accountable for the offense, the defense, special teams, you name it, I'm accountable for it. And as I mentioned, I'm accountable for, making decisions like this. It falls on me, and I accept those responsibilities.
What was Greg's reaction? I mean, he's coaching with a hobbled Sammy Watkins without his left tackle. Only 2 games in, he's gone. What was his reaction?
I'm not going to get into that. I think you can talk to Greg about that.
Did you consider Anthony, you brought him along with you. Was he in a thought of being the offensive coordinator originally? And how did you arrive at Greg, a guy you had not really had history with?
Well, I had some history with Greg Roman. We were together in Baltimore. I know Greg's a great coach, and I'm here to say it again and again and again. He's a great coach. I just felt, and I think he's done a lot of good things for this franchise. Very committed to it, hard working, and it just. But I just think moving forward, I just thought that we were going to get better through this move, and I truly believe that.
How do you feel this move might let you realize the vision a little bit more of what you want to see out of your offense?
That's part of the reason I made this move, that I believe it will be that our offense will be better in the long run for this move.
What kind of idea and focus do you want your offense to have? We've heard ground and pound in the past. What's the focus?
Well, I want to be multiple. I want to be able to throw the football. It's not just a ground and pound. Ground and pound was something that followed me forever. Based on my first year when I made that, hey, we're going to ground and pound. We had a rookie quarterback, some good backs, a good offensive line. We weren't exactly the greatest receiving corps, so I just thought it made sense. But that tag has followed me forever. I do want to be able to run the football on a consistent basis. I want to be multiple in the running game, but I also want to be able to use the entire, the quick game, the intermediate game, and the deep passing game.
Going off of that, the past 2 games, you guys really haven't been able to get much going in the running game. What do you need to do to get that going now?
Well, we'll address it, and obviously, going up against this opponent's going to be difficult. There's no doubt, but I believe our running game will be better.
Does the offense lack an identity? What is the offensive identity on this team?
Well, that's hard to say right now, but it's I think we have an outstanding talent at the quarterback position. I think Tyrod has some great abilities. I think he's unique with some of the things that he can do. I think we need to take advantage of it, and that's what we plan on doing. We mentioned Sammy Watkins. I think he's an elite receiver. I think we have an elite running back. I know we do, and Shady McCoy, and I think we have an outstanding offensive line, and, oh, by the way, an outstanding tight end. So we have a lot of weapons.
The offense dominates the discussion, obviously, today, but we can't lose sight of what happened or didn't happen defensively last night. As you've had a chance, or I'm guessing you've had at least some chance to put that over, where are you with that? Because it just seemed far too easy for the Jets to tear through the middle of your defense.
Well, it wasn't just the middle. It was on the perimeter. It was everywhere. And I think, they made a lot of plays, but it wasn't just one guy. If it was Brandon Marshall, if it was Eric Decker, then okay, I get it. Those 2 guys are outstanding players. But when we're getting beat by the 3rd and 4th guys, we've got to do a better job. We got to do a better job fundamentally, technique-wise, and it just seemed like when we made a mistake through penalty, through not being precise on what we were doing, the Jets took advantage of it. And to their credit, they deserved it. They moved the ball on a consistent basis, but it never had to be as easy as it looked.
What was the reason in your mind, now that you've looked
at it? That's a good question. I think there's multiple reasons that I won't get into specifics, but they've been addressed. We've worked extremely hard this afternoon on correcting things, even going through corrections on the field with the defense. So because it's a copycat league, and if you don't get better at doing certain things, if you continue, you'll continue to make the same mistakes. So obviously, this is something that we got to fix.
Actually, it's been gone 2 weeks removed from leading the league in rushing. Do you feel that puts everyone else in the organization kind of on notice?
I think right now this was a move that I thought would help our team, and that's why I made it.
So when you hired Greg, what made him the right fit, and what changed?
Well, I think I know Greg, and I thought and when I say I thought he'd do a great job, he did a great job for us. He works extremely hard as anybody that I've been around. He does a great job, and so I don't want this to be a slight on him, because he's a tremendous coach, and I just rather leave it at that.